Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Olson from the Smart Weight Loss Coaching Podcast. I've been working with Julia for almost 100 episodes now, and she has really helped me grow my podcast from basically just my parents, my husband and kids, and my sister as listeners to over 17,000 downloads. I mean, the amount that she expanded my audience went way beyond my expectations. She really blew my mind. I have quadrupled the number of downloads over the past 12 months. Julia has been so much more than just my podcast teacher. She has been like a partner to me, really taking an interest in my program and helping me more than I ever could have asked for. I highly recommend Julia.
How amazing is that? I am so grateful that Dr. Lisa shared her experience. And if her story resonated with you and you're thinking, wait, I want results like that too, that is exactly what we're doing inside the Podcast Growth Collective. It's the place for online business owners who want to turn podcasting into a powerful growth tool without the burnout and without guessing what to fix. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and finally start seeing results from your podcast, I would love to support you. Head to thepodcastteacher.com/collective to learn more and to join us. And now let's jump into today's episode. Did you know that guesting on podcasts, even if you've never done it before, can be one of the fastest ways to grow your business? And no, you do not need a huge following, you do not need a media kit, and you do not need to be some big name expert in order to land guest interviews that actually move the needle. Hey there, I'm Julia Levine, aka the Podcast Teacher, and you're listening to Podcasting for Solopreneurs, the show that helps online business owners grow their podcasts to get more listeners, leads, and sales. Most people are not using this powerful strategy of podcast guesting because the process can be intimidating if you're not doing it regularly. If you're a podcast host yourself, you have probably received some really bad pitches. I know I have. And you don't want to be that person. And maybe you're not sure exactly what you should talk about. You probably also have some mental chatter going on with thoughts like, am I ready for this? Who am I to be the guest of honor? And so on. I've been there and I get it. But what most people don't realize is that podcast guesting is one of the highest leverage visibility tools that you have as a business owner. It's not just about getting your name out there, although that helps. It's really about building meaningful connection. With this strategy, you are entering a space where the audience is already deeply engaged. They're already listening and they already trust that host. And so when you are brought on as a guest, that trust transfers to you. The host is endorsing you. Guesting on other podcasts has gotten me new clients and students, and I haven't even done very many interviews. So in this episode, I'm going to break down why podcast guesting works, what's really stopping most people, and 5 clear steps to start booking yourself as a guest with confidence, even if you've never done it before. So let's start by talking about why podcast guesting works. If you already have your own podcast, you know the magic of the medium. Podcasting builds trust. It gives you space to go deep, to connect, to create long-form content that actually converts. In a podcast, your audience hears your voice, they feel your energy in your heart, and all of that builds a real relationship over time. But the challenge is that even if you have a great show, your reach mostly stays limited to your own corner of the internet. You're nurturing the people who are already in your world, but you need to grow that world. SEO and marketing are fantastic strategies for visibility, and they work, but they can only take you so far, so fast. And that is where podcast guesting shines. This adds an additional strategic layer to your visibility by allowing you to step into rooms that someone else has already built. Every podcast has its own loyal audience. That host has already done the work of building rapport, showing up consistently, and creating that trust bridge. When you come in as a guest, you cross that bridge, the audience trusts that host, and so by association, they start to trust you. This is the warmest introduction that you could ask for. And it gets even better because you're showing up with value. You are giving insights, you're telling stories, and you're planting seeds that lead to real relationships, real authority, and yes, real leads. Guesting expands your reach quickly without requiring you to start from scratch. You tap into new, aligned audiences that are already primed to care about what you do. And the best part is that guesting is a great visibility strategy whether you have your own podcast or not. Some folks use a strong guesting strategy instead of starting their own show. I personally don't think that this is the best approach because I believe that there's value in owning your platform and your content, but to each their own. So you might be wondering why more people aren't doing this if podcast guesting is so effective. That's a valid question, and it usually comes down to 3 particular blocks. The first one, you probably guessed it is mindset. There is that inner critic in your head that tells you you're not ready, you don't have anything new to say, they might say no to your pitch, or worse, maybe they'll say yes and then you'll blow it. Guesting can feel vulnerable, but the truth is that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up with value and a genuine desire to connect. And remember that most podcasts are edited to some degree, so if you do really fumble something, you can ask for a retake. I've done it. It's okay. The second big block is time. As a solopreneur, you are juggling content creation, client work, admin tasks, launches, and so much more. There's a lot on your plate, and guesting feels like one more thing. And I'll be honest and say that it is another thing. But it's important to realize that you don't need to go out and try and get on 20 shows in the next week. Start small, work with what you can handle, and go from there. I personally am trying to do just 1 interview a quarter because that's all I can handle right now. And I am living proof that even just a few well-placed interviews can create long-term visibility with almost zero maintenance. It is a high-return move once you know how to do it. And finally, the third block is the pitch itself. How do you reach out to people? What do you say? How do you manage not to sound spammy? A lot of people freeze when they get to this step and they never hit send. But it really doesn't have to be that complicated or formal. So let's break down the 5 steps to take to start booking yourself as a guest with confidence, even if you've never done it before. Starting with step 1, this is find the right shows. The best shows to guest on aren't always the biggest ones. They're the ones where your ideal clients are already hanging out. You want to think about aligned audiences and overlapping themes. Think about who you already know in your network that works with the same target audience but doesn't do the same thing that you do. When you find a possible show, check to make sure that they're still releasing episodes. There are a lot of shows out there that are not publishing anymore. Then you want to scroll through their back catalog and look for episodes with guests. Some shows don't have guests at all or don't have them regularly. You could decide not to pitch that show if that's the case, or that could be something to call out in your pitch, saying something like, I know you don't normally have guests, but, and then proceed to tell them why you should be the exception. Finally, make sure that they don't have a competing offer. As someone who teaches podcasting, I'm not going to pitch shows with other hosts who also teach podcasting. There is a time and a place for industry collabs, but that is different than what we're talking about here. So instead, I would look for other shows that are also geared toward online business owners. One last tip, it's also much easier to get a yes from smaller shows. So start there, build up your confidence, and refine your talking points. And then if and when bigger shows feel like the right fit, you will be ready. All right, step 2 is to lead with value. The magic of guesting starts with the pitch, and your pitch is not about hard selling yourself. The pitch is all about being clear and specific and guest-centered. You need to lead with what you can offer their audience, how you can help them and their listener. That is what's going to make you stand out from the crowd. Most pitches start with a lengthy bio about who this person is and why they are a great person to feature on the podcast. But podcast hosts just want to provide great value to their listeners. So highlight that in your pitch and you will instantly stand out from the competition. You also don't need to over-explain or be overly formal. A thoughtful pitch with a compelling topic idea is often more powerful than a polished media kit. Keep in mind that podcast hosts typically receive a lot of pitches, and they're usually really bad. Some hosts just automatically delete them without even opening them. So if you don't get a response, don't take it personally. Take the opportunity to reach out again using a different subject line, or maybe try connecting with them on social media instead. Additionally, if you have your own podcast and you do guest episodes, it's a great idea to invite them onto your show first. That way you are giving before asking. You're giving them a platform and visibility opportunity, and then 9 times out of 10, they will return the favor and invite you onto their show without you even having to ask. And in the event that they don't, you have already established a rapport and it becomes a much easier pitch. And I'll let you know that a guest pitching template is just one of the awesome things inside the Podcast Growth Collective. Did you know that you can still join at the founder's rate for only $47 a month? Check it out before this offer expires at thepodcastteacher.com/collective. All right, moving on to step 3. you want to show up and deliver. When you do get a yes, your job is simple. Show up, be present, and be useful. Share stories and information that gives the audience something to walk away with. You don't need to overperform or be perfect. You just need to show up with heart, clarity, and a focus on serving, not selling. Prepare for the interview by listening to past episodes of their podcast, especially their guest episodes. Take note of how they typically start and end the guest segments. Practice how you'll introduce yourself and how you'll give a single, meaningful call to action at the end. These things seem simple, but it's really easy to ramble and tell your whole life story when they turn it over to you in the beginning, or to give 5 different CTAs at the end. Ask me how I know. All right. So step 4 is to share and celebrate. Once the episode goes live, talk about it. Share it across your channels, thank the host, and treat it like a meaningful piece of your thought leadership, not just another piece of content. While the actual efficacy of having guests promote episodes is debatable, the effort is always greatly appreciated by the host. So show your appreciation for the opportunity by sharing and celebrating the episode. And finally, step 5 is to keep the momentum going. Guesting gets easier and more powerful the more you do it. With each interview, your message sharpens, your reach expands, and your confidence grows. This is how visibility becomes natural, strategic, and sustainable. But remember that you don't have to do everything at once and guest on 20 shows next week. Start with 1 and go from there. Note what went well and what you can improve upon for next time. Momentum is built one conversation at a time. Once you get a system down, rinse and repeat. So, have I convinced you that podcast guesting is a great strategy? If so, think about what your next move is. Maybe you need to do some research to find podcasts that would be a good fit. Maybe you already have a show in mind and it's time to craft your pitch. Maybe you just need to give yourself a little pep talk and simply decide that this is a strategy worth trying. Whatever it is, go ahead and choose that next move and take the imperfect step. And if you would like support with podcast guesting and other growth strategies, I invite you to check out the Podcast Growth Collective. You can learn more at thepodcastteacher.com/collective. Until next time, happy podcasting.